Okay, so we're now in the dunes. So we've moved on from the Black Desert. We've had a very interesting couple of days. Black Desert finished off the signalling and the shelter building, but the morning that we was leaving there, we had one of the gentlemen. He was stung by a scorpion, so obviously, you know, straight into the safety precautions there. I mean, first of all, it was in the morning, so you know, scorpions, they devenomate, if that's the appropriate word for it, through the night. So basically, the more that they use their sting, the more that they hunt, the less venom that is inside it. Now, they can control the amount of venom that they inject, but if you're going to be stung, it might as well be first thing in the morning, because obviously they're at their most active at night time. But, you know, precautions, so straight onto it with the venom extractor, and just removing anything, if there's anything in there, and then where the sting point is, straight into hot water. The venom is proteins, and hot water breaks down proteins, so it's just as a precautionary measure, you know, the hottest water that the gentleman could stand, and finger into that, and then loads of painkillers, and yeah, hour he was fine. So but these are, you know, this is the real deal, you know, this is the environment that we're working within, and then we've come over to the dunes now. Yeah, we've had sand vipers, plenty of scorpions. One of the instructors has been stung by a scorpion this morning again, so same deal. But you know, you can take as many precautions as you can. But this, you know, this little fella, he had climbed underneath and got up into his trousers legs. So again, same deal. Get the venom extractor on, etc., etc. So. But yeah, we've had sand viper, we've had fennec fox come through the camp, and camel spiders. Yeah, there's lots and lots of wildlife, and then yesterday we did the vehicle prep and the vehicle recovery, and getting everybody just having a little bit of a drive in the dunes, which is great. So today we're concentrating on navigation, so compass work. Your mapping, for micro nav, forget about it out here, 1 to 1,000,000. So we do, you know, huge distances, but not for micro navigation. So we're understanding compass work now in terms of locating wells, etc. We got a well just about 1 kilometre away that we're using to resupply us as well. And then later on this afternoon we're going to be doing natural navigation, so that's using the sun. And then later on this evening we'll be using the stars as well. But it's also good as well, we know, you know, predominant wind directions. We can calculate if the dunes, if the sand is collected behind the grass, etc., that will point us in the right direction, or at least give us a compass point to work with. So it's a busy few days. Everybody's a little bit tired, and but I'm guessing that by later on this afternoon they'll come out of that tiredness thing. It always happens, it's human nature. So but what a beautiful setting to be in. Okay, so we're just starting the navigation exercise now, and the first thing that the ladies and gentlemen are doing is a bit of cognitive mapping, just to get their brain working on the natural navigation side of things. So we've asked them to draw a sand map of our journey, basically, so from the last camp to this camp, and seeing if what bits, features and whatever that they can pick out, because this is quite a key one, you know. It's, again, rule number 1, stay with your vehicle, but there are circumstances where, you know, you've got to make that tough decision of whether you're going to leave it. Normally it's because you haven't planned appropriately anyway, but this is a good little one if you're completely stupid and you haven't mapped everything out, you haven't told people where you're going, you've got your vehicle stuck, you've got a casualty, etc., etc. And this one will be enabling to try and put their location into the natural landscape, so we can start then to plot out, right, okay, where is the likelihood of a settlement going to be, or where is the likelihood of a well going to be. So we'll see how these guys get on, but I think they're gonna crack it, you know.
Might go down into little troughs between the sand dunes, and it's possible that you'll lose sight of your objective, and that's when your compass becomes useful. Okay, so if you need to, pick something in the foreground. If there's something along route which lines up with your compass and the Polaris,
So whilst Adam now is finishing off those sand maps with everybody, what we got Kev, who's just plotting out a sunstick for us. So we'll get him to explain. So go on, Kev, what are you up to?
Right, what we're doing here, Jace, is just marking out a shadow stick. So basically we've set up a fairly tall straight stick on a fairly flat bit of sand. We set it up about an hour ago, 7:30. Stick in the sand, and we've marked where the end of the shadow came to. So we've got a marker there from our first shadow, which is about an hour ago. And then periodically I'm coming out here and just marking the end of the shadow. So this is the one I've just done here. So we've now got two markers. You can navigate with just these two markers, but what we're going to do is we're going to leave this running through the whole day, plot the shadow, end of the shadow throughout the day, and what we should end up with is a slight curve, almost a straight line at this time of year, but it's a very slight curve, and we can then use that to find direction. We can use the line itself to get pretty much an east-west bearing, but what we can do, if we plot it throughout the day, we can actually work out where the shortest shadow was, and that will give us an exact bearing on north, roughly midday when the sun's exactly overhead. The shadow will obviously be at the shortest point there, and therefore we know that shortest shadow is pointing exactly due north. So that is a very accurate way of navigating, but it does need plotting out throughout the day to do that. Less accurate if you just do a short time period, but it's still a very effective method of navigating.
And your plan is to get the guys to utilise this afternoon?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll set this up running. When we do our navigation exercise later in the afternoon, about sort of 4 o'clock-ish, we'll have a nice set of marks here. We've also picked up the shortest shadow at midday. We'll then get them to use that, and actually the first bearing they head off with will be a natural nav1 based on the shadow stick. So we won't use the compasses or the GPSs till later on in the exercise. So their first bearing will be taken from this. We'll make it a little bit tricky. We won't give them an exact east, west, north or south cardinal point. We'll add sort of a few degrees on either side, and we get them to try and calculate 10 degrees off from the west, say, and start heading off from that bearing. And we'll just assess how accurate they are. We'll use our GPSs to plot out an exact bearing, and we'll compare how well they do against the GPS.
Phew, and it gets hotter and hotter. Okay, so what we've done at the minute, one of the things that we do with our instructors, once they've got their instructor's shirt and they can deliver all of the intermediate courses that we do in the UK, we then put them onto a program of CPD. So we bring in specialists to train them up, to broaden their knowledge base. Myself and Kev do one-to-one training and group training just purely with the instructors to increase their knowledge base. And one of the things we've done this year is we brought out one of those instructors to start getting him into the mindset of actually running overseas expeditions. You know, it's a whole different ball game out here. We haven't got A&E 6 miles down the road. You've got masses of influences on the group dynamics, whether it's the heat, whether it's hydration, whether it's just personalities, and so you know it takes a fair number of years to in my view, get the experience that's needed to be able to safely run these trips. So we brought him out, and he's got a few sessions to work on, and this is part of his CPD. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this environment. I think it's absolutely amazing, but you know, in 20 years' time, I might not be capable of actually running a trip like this. So this is a long-term investment to all of the instructors. We get them out, and so you know, potentially in 5-6 years' time, he'll be out here being helping to run the courses, and 10 years' time, he might be running them himself. You know, you've got to get a few years underneath your belt. You've got to get the sand time underneath your belt. But he's doing a superb job. You know, what an opportunity for him as well. So he's off with the group now. We'll go see how they're getting on.